Okay, so hi guys, we're back again. My name is Mapalo or Parlo or Pink Socks. They're not pink today, the blue, the blue and the logo characters. They kind of suit my personality for some reason, but yeah.
Right.
And today we have a special guest. I've been wanting to have her on for like the longest time. Took courage to actually text her. I won't even lie. I was thinking, will she say yes? Will she say
Ah,
no?
shame.
Yeah, but then I did. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Niza.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Niza. I think that's what needs to be known. Is there anything else?
No, you could add some more.
Um, yeah, my name is Niza Lebo Phiri. Currently, I work as a counselor and life coach. I'm trained in counseling, life coaching, and NLP. So I integrate
Okay.
these three to
Okay.
support people through healing and just gaining clarity. It's something that I'm very passionate about. Previously, I worked in the media. Um, and I think it's been quite a journey to now being where I am. I host a podcast. It's here and there, currently going through a rebrand, but that's all in the effort to share information. I think people need to know things for them to make better decisions. And so I use such platforms, social media, and my podcast to do that. So that's Niza Lebo Phiri in this
Okay.
season.
Okay.
Yeah,
That is
thank
that
you for
is.
having me. And I feel sad that you had to scratch your head and really think deeply about how to do this. I think it's all about what are we talking about? What's the point? And I'm very open to such things. And you are generally someone that I have worked with before. So it wasn't really a hard decision to make.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for accepting. Lovely having you here.
You're welcome.
I am very amateur at this thing, so I'm trying to do the best I can to get better at this. Actually,
Right,
yeah,
right.
yeah. So I texted you last week. So something happened at CBU, and it's something that's been happening over the past years.
Right.
It's become a frequent thing. So a lot of people battle through depression and anxiety and many other forms of mental illness.
Yeah.
So I, for one, am a product. I could call myself a product or a victim
Right, right.
of the similar traits like social anxiety, depression, and maybe even suicidal thoughts.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And it's been hard to work through them, but I could say I think I've done well. I've done good.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
yeah,
So, and I want to talk about this with you because it's
yeah,
actually a very serious topic and it's something
yeah.
that needs to be looked at and be talked about because not a lot of people talk about them because there's this stigma around it that
Yeah.
especially if you're a young gentleman, mama tadida, mama kukosa, just
Yeah,
uh, just
yeah,
just be hard, just be strong, kuva musoja, which is
yeah.
it's toxic and it's very negative towards a lot of young men and
Right,
women.
right,
So
right,
yeah, I would like to ask your experience in the matter, like people who have come to you.
right. So obviously I can't disclose much
Yeah, you can't disclose
or
much because
yeah, yeah, obviously confidentiality issues. But already I want to pick off your vulnerability. Thank you for trusting me and actually believing that you can share what your struggles have been. So maybe we can really work on that. But first, I want to start with us appreciating or understanding emotions and thoughts and behaviors, right? Of which, if somebody commits suicide, it's a behavior, it's a manifestation that has gone through stages of emotion and stages of thought, right? Beyond the thoughts, there's been events, experiences that have happened to that person that has influenced them to have the thoughts that they have, and hence the emotions that those thoughts evoke, leading to something. But even before that, Mapalo, have you ever felt happy in your life?
genuine happiness.
Or just a moment of happiness?
Yeah, I think I have. I have.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt excited about something?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. And so imagine how very accommodative we are of people's happy moments and of people's excited moments, why then do we say you can't have a sad moment? Right? So, in the moments that you are excited or happy, what did you do? You probably did things in response, in reaction to that
To the event.
excitement and the event. So, when you are sad, when you're feeling low, whatever is causing that, we haven't yet gotten there. Why are we then saying, because ulimwaume, do not express your sadness? Because ulimwaume, do not express your fear, right? Because basically that's what we're asking people to do. We're saying, listen, mask it, numb yourself. Why? Because if you feel sad, it might lead to crying and umaume dalila, right? So, and I think that's where most of the challenges start. It's because a lot of young men like yourself have been told, because Udumwame, you can't express your sadness like this, like that. But imagine how will they embrace you expressing your sadness by isolating, by drinking, by sex, by smoking, drugs, things like that. Then we accommodate those things and say they are manly. So that's where most of the challenges begin. And I'm not just saying that these coping mechanisms will be used only by men, but I think even women will then turn to these things, young women or older women, regardless. So my experience is just this observation that I'm trying to show you, that we are people, we feel things, but somehow in society, in culture, in conversations, there's a way that we have started masking. There's a way that we have been drawn into don't feel, don't think, right? And so when you isolate someone, what do you think they're going to think, feel
The
about
negatives.
whatever exactly? So that has been my general observation. And I think I could say this is an observation of even myself, right? Because there's a perceived understanding of who Niza Lebo Phiri is. When she feels a certain way, e.g., social anxiety, you're almost like, but you're about people. You're always around people, you know? So you shouldn't feel that way. And so Niza then struggles to understand and embrace the season she's in. And it's just a ripple effect. So I think the general observation is that we're all human. We are all gone through things. Hence, we have certain thought patterns, and these thought patterns create these emotions. And sometimes these emotions lead to certain meditations. So that's I think that's where we could start as a foundation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'd also like to ask about yourself. Like, so how did you start? Like, when did the passion to help people start? Like, when did it kick in?
If you told me 3 years ago that I would be sitting here and introducing myself as a mental health counselor, I would have laughed at you. Honestly, I would have really laughed at you. I've always been very aware of mental health and the whole issue around it, largely because I'm very purpose driven. And I really like to take care of myself and do what needs to be done in seasons of my life. But what leads to me here is COVID-19. So I think that's where it starts. Prior to COVID-19, yes, I was depressed. I was in a bad space. I was depressed for 2 years and didn't even know. And the reason why I say this is because I want to echo that there is need for diagnosis. Don't ever look at yourself and say because there are certain emotions you felt that kind of look like some emotions that have been discussed on social media or on the internet and say, oh, I have OCD. No, you are just a tidy person and you don't like dirt. You are not. You don't have OCD unless you have a diagnosis. So similar goes with things like social anxiety. I think my last assessment was November last year, December last year, and at the time it was like, oh, mild anxiety. So there must be an assessment and a diagnosis. So I didn't know because there was no prior diagnosis until then I was able to now start pinpointing to what happened, how I was feeling when it started. So I think that led into 2019 me quitting my radio job and TV job and really believing that I would find something new to do with my life. I didn't know it was really motivated by depression, which is why self awareness is very important because you could be like, it's time for this and that. No, you're not okay. And you're trying to just hide and cope and manage. So I leave media. This is around 2019. 2020, I get an admin job. And so working the admin job meant I had so much time to think, to pray, spend time by myself most times. And then COVID happens. So even though COVID happened, one of the triggering moments for me was when one of the girls I was kind of mentoring at the time reached out to me. She had just had COVID. She was on oxygen for about a month, got back to work. There was a lot of stigma. In a short period of time, she was fired from her job. So when she calls me, she tells me, Niza, my migraines won't stop. And she's complaining about it's either migraines or back pains. So I'm just like, okay, listen, child, we've prayed. You have taken your medication. Have you been diligent about it? She says yes. So I said, okay, clearly it's not a spiritual issue because I am still African and I would think of a spiritual cause, right?
Yeah.
And
Like the first things first,
like,
check your spirituality.
spiritual, let's cast and bind. And so the second thing was physically, did she finish her medication? And she said yes. So I said, okay, listen, I don't know what's going on with you. Clearly, something is wrong. Tell your physician, and perhaps your physician could refer you to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. At the time, I just had a feeling that if it wasn't physical or spiritual, maybe it was psychological. So when I check in on her 2 weeks later, she tells me her physician was out of town and he said he would attend to her when he was back. And I think that made me livid because I knew the urgency of her case. And that's what led me to want to understand how can I care for people? So how can I care for people led me to a Google search of how do I become a therapist. That led me to having conversations with people. And then they said, listen, before you even get into psychology and everything, maybe start with just psychosocial counseling and see if this is something you want to do. And from that, within 2020 to 2021, I had done 3 courses. And within those 3 courses, I was sure this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So that's how I end up in this position. It's really trying to serve someone and trying to know what I'm doing. I just don't want to talk to you. And because prior to that, people would come to me for advice. Niza, I need your advice. And later I realized I don't want to be advising people. And I want to tell you this, Mapal, every time you go to someone for advice, I want you to know that the person advising you is either projecting their strength or projecting their fear when they're advising. Right? So someone would ask me, Niza, should I leave my boyfriend? He cheated. I'll say leave him because I have the strength to walk away. I have the strength to build other connections. Or I would say, no, stay because I'm afraid of my own singleness and I don't want you to end up like me. So every time someone is advising you, they're either projecting one or two, and I didn't want to do that. Counseling allows me to meet you where you are, help you understand what you're feeling or thinking, help you understand the roots, and help you identify possible solutions. And that's why I love it.
So counseling is more meeting in the middle.
It's not even a middle. In most parts, it's actually coming to find you.
Ah,
I want to come to where you are and find you and help you out of that place if you want to leave the place.
that sounds profound. I
Yeah,
never really thought of it in that way.
right.
I usually just thought of it like, okay, counseling. I come tell you my problems, and you're listening, and you either tell me what to do or give me an idea
Ooh,
of what to do.
no.
Because
Yeah.
I think that's why most people don't really would like to go for counseling because they're thinking, I'm just going there and they're going to tell
And
me
they'll tell me what I know.
exactly. They'll tell me what I know, tell me what I want to hear,
Oh
and
boy.
they'll
Yeah.
tell me what I want to hear, and
Yeah.
what's the point? I'm wasting money. I'm wasting my time. I could be doing other things, and that's how you find yourself putting yourself in bad vices.
I don't know if it's okay for me to paint a picture for you, right? One of my trainers in one of the programs I did used this. Mapalo, imagine you wake up one day and you can't remember what happened the previous night. You're naked. There is no clothing in the house. You can't use anything to cover yourself and leave the house,
That's a scary thought.
right? Imagine that. You don't know how you got there. You know the house is strange. You don't know the house. Whose house are you in? You do not know. You do not know where the house is. You just walk up there and you have a phone and you can see names of people that you know in your phone. Who are you going to call? Because number one, you want someone you're going to call who is likely going to come to you, find where you are, who's going to clothe you, and who's going to help you out of that house that you do not know. And sometimes a mental health conflict may feel like this, may feel like, how did I end up here?
How
Right?
did I find myself in this space?
How? And usually you want someone you can trust, someone who's going to come find you. And the first question they ask you is, how did you get here? You don't want that because you also don't know. Right? And so, as counselors, I think our core is let me find where you are. I'm going to find you. I'm going to ask you some questions. Work with me. Right? And usually, some people are very reserved about the therapy process because you're asking me too many questions.
Yeah,
You're asking me too many questions.
you're trying
Yeah.
to get to know me too
Or
much.
prove that I am stupid for finding myself here.
Yeah.
But in fact, I'm trying to care for you by finding you where you are, and let's navigate this together. What happened? Where? When? How do we find a way out? So I think that naked, alone, ashamed in a house is one of the things that I like to think about every time I'm caring for people. That they deserve my patience, that they deserve my love, my confidentiality, my care. And so if it has to be 6 sessions, we're going to do this every week. So I think that I hope that helps you understand that I'm not advising you because I also don't know how you found yourself there. Yeah.
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 Okay, so there's this thing that I've been trying to find out. Like, usually a bridging between the Christian part and the counseling part.
Right.
Yeah. So especially, I've heard from friends of mine, maybe a friend of mine who went to counseling, especially like the older counselors will always say, pray first.
Right.
Yeah. That's like the first option.
Yeah.
Like the pray first, and it's not really like the let's try to find a solution. Do you find yourself advising prayer first before?
I'd like to ask my clients, like, do I ever? Do I
Because
ever?
we understand that Christianity is a big part. It's a big part of your life.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
yeah, it's a
Of
big part of your
course.
life, and it's a big part of maybe the country itself. But is
That's a
it
good
always
question.
necessary sometimes?
That's a
Because
very good
if
question.
right now I went to an older person and the first thing they'll say, maybe you might be demon possessed. Have you tried praying?
Right.
Yeah, which
Right.
is a scary thought also because
Where do I start from?
where do I start from? This is a scary thought also
Yeah.
because I go to a person asking for, or maybe wanting to be listened to, understood, and they don't really understand
Yeah.
because there's a generational gap in the first place. A generational gap, like their problems and your
Yeah.
problems are kind of a bit different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's a very good
and the
question.
first thing that I think of is prayer.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we have to first understand what counseling or therapy is. Usually, what we're talking about a trained and qualified, licensed person attending to you. So, there could be trained in psychosocial counseling, in counseling psychology, in psychology itself. There could be trained in psychiatry. There could be like the different trainings that are available out there, right? But they must be licensed. And what that would entail is that they have methods or modalities to how they deal with a client or a particular case, right? And yes, there are what's called Christian counselors out there, which would mean that part of their modality or part of their method or approach is pretty much Christian religious, scriptural type of approach. That's one. And prior to all this, now psychologists, my therapist, this, what we had is that our churches would train people who they would call counselors. So when you give your life to Christ, they would say, go and speak to the counselor. They are basically speaking to you to help you establish yourself in
In
the
Christ.
Christian faith and in Christ, as you put it. So that was one. And that's why you would then say most of the older generation, that's what they knew. Also, if that's what they knew, that's what they are likely to give to you, right? So I like that you can identify that my faith is such a huge part of my life. I'm a Christian, born again, tongue speaking, everything, right? And I have spiritual gifts. I like to tell people that at no point do I leave the counseling room and then become a Christian, or I leave being a Christian and then become a, I
Counseling.
am me.
Yeah.
This is one person.
This is you.
But one thing that I've learned to do, I've attended to close to 100 clients now from the time I started. I have only ever had to talk about God in a session with one client. One client who requested that I do, who needed that perspective. Meaning, and I'm saying this for everybody who might watch this, you can ask the person caring for you not to include anything spiritual or religious. It is your right. So if Mapalo, you say, I want a session with you, Niza, but can we please not talk about the Bible?
Let's leave it out for a bit.
Can we please not talk about religion? Trust me, there are so many modalities, so many methods, so many approaches to actually caring for someone and helping them reach their desired goal. So I've only had to do that once, to a point where a client asked for me to pray for them during a session, and I did so. And it worked for what it needed to work for. Beyond that, there are some people who say, "Can you please not talk about God?" I'm like, okay. There are some parents who've asked me when I'm attending to their children, "Please talk to my child about God," right? So it's what was given to us because that's what was known. But I even remember, I tried to recall, like, there were certain challenges I would have in my teen years or in my early 20s. And I remember that there was a very Christian approach, and I could tell you that that didn't help me at all. It did not help me because it didn't help me get to the point. To a certain degree, it helped me ignore the issues and just trust and
And
just
God.
have faith,
Yeah.
and just not that there's anything wrong with that. I currently, my therapist actually is a Catholic priest. And in trust me, it's we have a very
It's a funny dynamic.
I
It's a
know,
funny dynamic.
but we have such great rapport. And he's the fourth therapist I've tried. He's been the best therapist I've ever had. But it's because he's very experienced as a psychologist. I think that was his training. Um, he's very good at what he does. And I think only once as well did we have to talk about my spirituality at depth. And it needed to be for the purpose it served. So, one, you can request that there's no religious talk in your sessions. Number two, you can request that there is, if that's something that's important to you, right? And then I think the other aspect, and having said that, I'm now remembering another client to whom it was important that I was a Christian therapist, or that I was a Christian who's a therapist, according to her. So that meant that when I was listening, I knew that,
Yes.
okay, this
Okay.
person is this. So it's quite a huge part of our society. It's a huge part of our society, and I have questioned it as well. Is it something that we do to numb and to ignore things? So the thing is, I'll tell you to go pray about it so that I don't have to deal with it, right? I'll tell you to go pray about it so that this is too much.
Just go
Or
pray.
I'm hoping that you snap out of it, as it
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
said, right? So
yeah.
go pray about it so that you would snap out
Go
of
pray
it.
about it and trust God.
Yeah,
He will,
trust
he will,
God.
he will deliver out of it.
Yes, trust God. But in the Bible as well, I think it's in Ephesians where it says, give thanks, right? And it says, make your petitions known, right? And there's a pathway to dealing with anxiety. Do not be anxious for anything. It doesn't say thou shalt not be anxious. And I like to think that that scripture is there because perhaps it suggests that there will be anxiety. So there is anxiety, but don't be. So what do I do? Gratitude. Okay. Petition, meaning make your request known. Say it,
Say it.
speak it.
Speak.
And that's something that is taken away from people, is the ability to be able to talk about what they are feeling, to be able to talk about how they. So the prayer about it is almost, okay, I've heard you, go and pray about it,
It's very
or let's
dismissive.
pray. You could almost think of it as being dismissive. And having said that, because we want to be careful not to paint it all black, but we also have to understand that there's a cultural background that could relate to that. This is what I know, so I'm passing it to you, right? Maybe it's worked for me, but I want to pass it to you because that's all I know. And then you're coming to that conversation with your awareness, with your wokeness, with your new challenges with
Yeah.
social media, and so that doesn't feel enough. right? It doesn't feel enough. And one of the things that then therapy or counseling gives you is the ability to talk about it. And as you hear yourself talk about it, immediately you're able to find what your possible solutions are. So maybe, yes, I can pray about it, but I can also maybe journal about it. Maybe I can just also start exercising. Maybe I can, like then you find that there are so many things to do. There's so many things that you could do. Make your decision. Implement your decisions, things like that. Stop doing what's bringing you in this place, but you have to talk about it, praying about it. And I've found that with therapy, even my prayer life improves because then even what I pray about is different. I'm not just all over the place. Like, I want to understand what I'm praying about. So, what are you even going to pray about if I send you to pray? Like, Niza, I want to talk to you because I don't understand what I'm going through. So the minute you share what you're going through, when I tell you go pray about it, what am I telling you to go pray about? You must have some form of idea or understanding. And for therapists, just giving an understanding of why you behave the way that you do, where it comes from. And then when it comes down to prayer, you're very specific and saying, oh, yeah, this. Or even beyond the prayer is, okay, let me just go sit with a friend and not be sitting alone all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's quite a discussion.
Yeah.
Culture is created by people, and sometimes people are it's difficult for people to change. So if we understand that, we understand that so much of religiousness or Christianity is part of our community. So you even find people who believe in God or who pray tell you, don't go for therapy.
Just pray.
Just pray, or that's too expensive. Why don't you just be committed at church? So
Yeah.
I've been to churches where they had like a whole session talking about mental health and therapy. And I think the trendy Christians on social media are the ones who say Jesus and therapy,
Yeah, just yeah.
prayer and therapy. It's because there's an understanding of how it helps.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a good question. I just went down a spiral.
Okay, we're about to go on a break, just so we can check the time. As I said, it could be because I'm alone today, so I don't
Yeah,
even know how. I
yeah.
don't even know how long we've gone so far.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
but
Okay,
yeah, we'll be back soon.
sure.
Okay, and we are back again, back to the Shimi Podcast, back with our special guest Niza. So I would like to ask on coping strategies. What coping strategies would you advise someone who is having suicidal thoughts?
Right. Um,
Because I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've gotten older, but of like the past 3 years, it's been really a thing. Because you hear about maybe suicide in like 3 people like a month.
right,
Yeah, it's
right.
because in the day of social media, you will hear about it sooner
Yeah,
or later,
yeah, yeah.
and especially young ones in universities, because university is a hard place. It's
Right,
a hard
right,
place. University
right.
is a very hard place. You can the stories I have enough stories about my university life,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
university is a hard place,
Are you
and
still in uni?
yeah,
Right,
yeah, university is a
right,
hard place. So
right.
ooh, okay, it went there for us. University is a hard place, and a lot of people find it hard to cope. And maybe it could not even just be university, but other things in life, and then added with school pressure ends up uh, hitting them down and breaking them down, and
Yeah,
they end up,
yeah. I like
yeah.
the direction that you're taking because I think what's to understand is what causes suicide, right? So you said suicidal thoughts. So what causes the
Suicide.
suicidal thoughts? Because, like you put it, first there are thoughts,
But their thoughts before they're put into action.
putting it into action. So there's
So,
what's called the cognitive triangle. I use it a lot to help people understand just the process they go through. So in your triangle, you have your bottom left. We can start with there. Your bottom left is emotion. Your bottom right in the triangle is behavior. And so usually we like to focus on these two. We'll focus on the act of suicide. We'll focus on the act of self harm, which can take different shapes, right? And Suicide is just another form of self harm that leads to death. It takes away the life. People may do, also think of doing other things. So we'll focus on the act and then we'll continue talking. But how could he? How could he? We're just looking at just one element of the whole individual's process. The other aspect that I've mentioned is emotion. Sometimes we will focus on the emotion, and usually it's ourselves. Individuals judge themselves a lot for how they feel. How could you feel like this? No, but why are you feeling like this? Why you want to feel it's only you feeling like this, right? Or we'll even talk to our friends and say, but Mapalo, why are you so sensitive? What we're judging, what we're referring to is the emotion. Emotion. What we need to understand is before the behavior, before the emotion, at the tip of the triangle, of the cognitive triangle, is thoughts. They are things that you think, Mapalo, that lead to how you feel, that lead to how you behave. So whether the behavior is isolation, whether the behavior is drinking, whether the behavior is fighting, whatever the behavior is, there's the way that you felt. And the feeling may have been undesired, meaning I don't want to feel low. So when we talk about the word coping, we're trying to soothe that negative emotion. Soothe it until I'm in a place where I can now deal with it. So you're soothing the emotion, but there's a thought. And I think I want to stay on this just a little bit longer because when we understand what is giving birth to this thought, so maybe I didn't clear an exam. What thoughts do you have? Usually we would say, how do you feel about that, failure to clear? But usually it's this, I haven't cleared, and there's a first thought. Usually people think, I'm just dumb. I'm just slow. I'm not good enough. And the more you think such negative thoughts, they are triggering emotions. Now you have anxiety to go back to class. Now you have fear of the unknown. Maybe it will happen again. Now you have shame because how do I call my parents? So you have all these emotions because of certain events that have happened that triggered certain thoughts. Thoughts are questions that you ask. Thoughts are statements that you make. Thoughts are some form of movies that you play back and forth in your mind. Like, I'm going to go and I'll fall. Because you've been thinking you're going to fall,
It's going to happen.
now you have this emotion of fear. So when we talk about coping, I like to tell people that you can either try and soothe the emotion or you can try and manage the thoughts. So we'll hear people say, go for an exercise, do yoga, do meditation. Prayer is one of the things that will be suggested as a coping mechanism, right? And that is why when we tell people go and pray, what we're telling them is they go and cop. But by the time they're coming to you, they've already been trying to cop. Help them. Help them, meet them somewhere. So coping mechanisms, one of them is number one, speak to someone. I would like for people to create safe spaces for each other. Get a friend that you know you can tell when you're having a bad day. They may not have the skill to help you navigate these emotions and thoughts, but do you have someone you can tell who will check on you? So that's another way. Friend circles, social connections is very important in mental well-being. Extremely important. So one, talk to someone, a friend, someone you feel safe, a relative, a sibling, right? Number two, if you're in school, this is something that could help someone in the sense that it's difficult for you to just keep harboring the thoughts and harboring the emotions. So one of the things that could help you cope in the moment is being able to offload. So if you don't have someone to speak to, get a plain paper. Okay, get a piece of paper and just write down everything you're feeling on paper. So I feel overwhelmed, I feel scared, I feel drained, I feel tired. Just write every emotion that you're currently feeling. What that is helping you do is helping you remove it out of your body. Because there are times when your body bears all these emotions and thoughts, and it could even, cause some discomfort for you. So put it down on paper, what you're feeling, and if you can, discuss how you're feeling with someone close to you, right? Just discuss how you're feeling. If that's not something, get the paper, take a walk. Just take a walk, not thinking about you've left it on paper, right? And maybe come back and look at it again. If you can, start interrogating these emotions and ask yourself, what is causing this emotion of tiredness? Immediately you start realizing that, oh, I didn't sleep well enough. Next question is, what can I do about it? This is some form of first aid that you can do for yourself to help you understand the feeling, the emotion, and the possible solution. Always do this to offload, to unpack. The others are pretty much the common ones. And I always tell people you can always do a Google search and ask coping mechanisms, and you get to know, have a tea, have a bath, go for a walk, go jogging, do your meditation. You can do this, and there's no one size fits all. What I mean by that is just because a cup of tea works for Niza, which it does. Trust me, a cup of tea, I can smell a herbal tea, lemon, mint, and whatever. It makes me feel relaxed, but it can't work for you.
I don't like tea.
Look at that. So there we are. What do you think are some of the things that work for you? What is something that you've tried and you actually felt calmer when it was done?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, please, if you can.
Music. Music has always been a thing for me.
There we go.
Music has always been a thing for me. And of recent, because I used to play a lot of guitar. I don't play as much guitar as I used to. So one of the things, uh, especially there was a point during COVID.
Yeah.
During COVID, there was a time I was pretty low during COVID. That's the time I kind of picked up graphic design again.
Right, right,
So it kind of helped me a
right,
lot.
right.
So I had to channeling my creativity into something helped me a lot. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah,
that's a coping
yeah.
for me.
And I like how your answer kind of also speaks to self-awareness. Like you know yourself. And so in knowing yourself, it has to be a creative method. Your way of coping is creative. There are some people who, based on self awareness, maybe theirs is supposed to be physical exercise. Why? Because movement and motion helps them better. So they'll go for a run. I know I have friends who go for like a 21 kilometers run. And I'm like, why?
Right.
But again, I'm a creative like you. So my coping mechanism would be taking a walk, because as I walk, I'm taking pictures of the sky. I'm taking pictures of people, right? Stones. That is an outlet for me. So self awareness is very, very important. And you can look at a list of even just, the internet of some of the things that you can do, but ask yourself, what really works for me? Previously, I was very extroverted. So my outlet would be social settings, go to an event, So I'll be at every event, even planning my own events and organizing my own events. And recently I've noticed that I've become a little bit more introverted. In previous, I know.
Kind of similar. Open mic was also a thing for me because it helped me a lot.
Right,
It
right.
it put me in because I'm not really funny enough, I'm not really a people person. I'm not really a social gathering person. But open mic put me in an environment where I had to be with people, be
Yeah,
around people. So that
yeah,
did help also.
yeah.
So I think I get what you mean
And
by
so when
social
you go
settings.
through the switch, or there's a change, and I think I know what has led to the changes. Obviously, COVID-19 changing what I do for a living, and a lot of other things. Now that I'm more introverted, so much of my coping mechanism is being by myself. I need any other relationship I have in my life depends on Niza having time to herself. I then say the person that I bring to the table when I've spent time by myself is high quality than when I'm forced into be in this place, and do this and do that. So my 5 kilometers walks 5 times a week are very important to me because I get to be by myself, right? And maybe reading a book is something, because when we're coping, and that's the thing, most of us think coping is dealing with the issue. Coping is not dealing with the issue. So I think someone would want to go for a walk, and by the time they come back from the walk, the issue is gone. That's not it. Perhaps coping would be thought of as taking a step away from whatever it is, lest you lose yourself in it. Perhaps coping would be thought of as delaying any decisions or any irrational thoughts around it. So go away, go make a cup of tea, right? Give yourself time for your emotions to settle, for your thoughts to almost settle, and almost not really. There's a word that people like using, which I don't like. I'm trying to distract myself. Coping is not distracting yourself. Yeah. And if you continue on that pattern of always distracting yourself when something happens, you become very avoidant to actually managing matters. So it's how do I soothe? There's this negative emotion and it could lead to a negative behavior. How do I soothe? How do I calm down? How do I just, almost breathe? So that's why some people say meditate and breathe. It's all trying to soothe. So do I always have emotions that I want to soothe? No. But sometimes I do things that still energize me for the bad days. So equally, find out what works for you. Some will say journaling. And like I said, journaling is not keeping a diary of today I went for an interview with Mapalo. But I could say today I went for an interview with Mapalo and say, how did that make me feel? Or it made me feel anxious at the beginning. Why did I feel anxious? Oh, I was talking about mental health, and that's something that I feel uncomfortable talking about. So it's really, journaling is really identifying the emotions and the thoughts and the behaviors. And it's a skill that has to be learned.
I've never really thought of journaling like that. I've never thought of it like that. Yeah, I've
Really?
never really thought of it in that way.
Do
Because
you journal?
no, writing has never really been a thing for me.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I can't
Right.
write.
How do you feel about voice journaling?
Uh, I think it's an idea I would use because I talk to myself a lot.
Really?
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
I'm
wow.
I'm the kind of person when I'm driving, I'll talk to myself.
That's good.
And I'm driving, I'll talk to myself, especially if it's like a bit from here to home. It's like 10 to 15 minute drive. I will talk to myself in the
Mapalo,
drive.
listen, A plus for the self awareness. A plus for the self awareness. That could really mean the difference between being well and not being well for anybody. So I will write. Yesterday I journaled 6 pages. And when I was going through, I was like, I am really well. I can write all this. I can identify, I can give language to my emotions and thoughts. So if that's what works for you, do it more. Check in with yourself every single day or every other day. And you can send a voice note. I like that WhatsApp allows us to send voice notes or messages to ourselves. Send a message to yourself. I call them podcasts, like 9 minutes voice notes to myself. I was just watching a podcast and this podcast triggered these emotions and it made me think this and it made me think that release is the idea. So try different things. I like that you talk to yourself. I really do. And if you could continue doing that, record, keep, listen back maybe 3 months from today, and you see, like, oh, wow, this is where I was. This is where I was. And it can be very empowering. So
Wow.
thanks for sharing that. That was so good.
Thank you. I've never really thought of it in that way, but thank you
Yeah,
for telling me that. I have
you're welcome.
I have a new coping mechanism now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
definitely.
All right. So what next? What did Toast give me? Breaking stigma. How do you break the stigma around, like we talked about a moment, Adila? I think we already addressed that, have we?
Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
did mention it. So how do we break the stigma?
Yeah.
Wow. One of the ways is that we need to help people, make people understand why this is
Important.
important, right?
Yeah.
So even I was looking at statistics from Chainama recently, and at Chainama Hills Hospital alone, they reported to have treated 16,000
Oh.
people at Chainama alone, and it's a referral hospital, one
Yeah.
of the biggest. So either people are referred there, and 16,000, 2023, a rise from 14,000 in 2022,
Wow.
right? So if there are so many people dealing with mental health issues and illnesses, which is different, we all experience mental health issues. Every time you feel stressed about making a decision, every time anything that causes you offbeat emotionally or mentally or even behavioral as well. So every day we do face challenges. illnesses are now the what requires diagnosis, your schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, clinical depression or anxiety and things like that. So if we have so many cases, that means that we need to bring the conversation down to even household level. That's what I always think is the best place to start. For me, it's a simple discussion of, oh, I'm going for therapy with my siblings, right? They know what I do. One of them is studying psychology, but telling them that I'm going for therapy immediately starts a conversation. I have one sister who always joke about it. It was like, just pay me and talk to me, I'll listen. But that starts a conversation into why are you going for therapy and whether I can disclose or not. I'll tell them how it's helping me. I'll tell them what aspects of my life have been affected, right? And so one of the ways we can break the stigma is being able to bring the discussion to household level. If you're in uni, bring the discussion to your roomie level, if that's even correct. Um, Discuss that in your different groups, study groups at school. And I want someone to try this. And please, you'll find me on social media. The next time you go for a study group, or the next time you go for any small group, whether it's church group, religious, or whatever, before you start anything, tell everyone to say, can we spend the next 30 minutes, just 30 minutes or 20 minutes? How are you really? Just ask someone, how are you? How are you navigating school? How are you navigating the season? And let people just sit and think, and whoever is ready to share, let them share. And I think that's one thing we can do, breaking stigma by allowing people to answer how they are really and just listening to them. And don't offer any suggestions or whatever, just listen. So breaking the stigma has a lot to do with us being vulnerable again. I think Mapalo has given us a good example of how to do that. Uh, just,
I'm pretty open.
I like that.
I'm pretty open.
I like that. And what do you think is the response that you get from most friends around you? Your openness or your vulnerability? How do most people respond to it?
Um, I think now a lot more they understand now a lot more now. As before, it was more of a because before I was open when I started becoming open when I was a lot sadder. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
so when I was like when I was really sad, that's when I started opening up to a lot more friends. So at that point, it used to be a, "Are you okay, bro? Like, are you okay? Are you going to office?" Like, no, I'm good. I'm not going to. I won't get that far, but talking about this helps.
Right.
So when I,
That's so good.
yeah, so when I became when I was at my lowest, that's when I used to talk a lot more.
That you
I
talk.
talk less now, maybe because I'm not really as bad as I used to be.
Right.
But when I was at my lowest, talking to friends,
Yeah.
telling them what I was going through,
Yeah.
telling them how I felt really
Yeah.
helped.
Yeah. And I
So,
think your reaction or your response to this kind of also helps me reflect on when we talk about stigma, what is the stigma towards? Because that would then also help us manage it or change it. So, is the stigma towards people feeling or people thinking, or is the stigma towards the opening up about what they're thinking or feeling, if that makes sense? Because then what I'm saying is if someone is a bit opposed to me opening up about my emotions, perhaps breaking that would involve me educating them that it's okay to talk about emotions that are difficult. You see what I mean? Perhaps that would mean that I now have to equip myself to be there for them when they are having a low moment so that they understand that it is possible. Because another thing is sometimes it's easy for me to dismiss how you feel, Mapalo, because I don't have the capacity to hold space for you, right? So if I don't have capacity to hold space for you, I'll tell you, go back your mom anyway,
because I feel
because I don't have the capacity. And if I did, I'd immediately say, oh, so how are you feeling? So what happened? And I want to hear you and I want to hold space for you. And holding space basically is not me advising you. It's just letting you release whatever it is and helping you sit in those emotions and thoughts until you feel like a breath of air, which does happen the more you let people speak. So understanding the person you're dealing with, why is there a stigma against this and that, and then dealing with it, which would mean that with our parents or with those who are older, if the issue is that they had their own ways of dealing with this, it's really meeting them at how did you deal with this? Like, ask them questions. How did you deal with not having a good day? How did you deal with that and that? And when you listen to them, immediately you start picking, like, oh, so that's why you can't hold space for me. Okay, how can I hold space for you? So I think, yeah, I like that question because this is the first time I'm actually reflecting on what stigma, what is the stigma targeting? And if we can understand that, then we can now have an approach to it. Sometimes it's just ignorance. It's not that there's stigma, there's just lots of ignorance.
No, a lot
People
of
don't know.
they don't know about it. They don't have information about it.
Yeah.
It's pretty. It's, yeah, it's ignorance. It's
Yeah.
the best way to put it.
If I don't know, I won't be embracing of it.
If I don't know, I have nothing to speak on it. Exactly. So I
Yeah.
understand, and I would like to think I'm a safe space for people. I hope I am.
Really?
I hope I am.
That's good.
I hope I am because I would like to. I'd like to listen. If someone tells me no, I'm not okay right now. Would you listen to? Would you like to listen to me? I would love to listen. Offering advice is not really my thing, but
You're the best therapist out there right now. And you're the best therapist.
guys, if you want a session, hit me up.
You're the best therapist.
Listening, I think I would. I'm a better listener than an advice giver, so I'll really not give advice.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's a good reflection. I came across a video online. I think Simon Sinek, if I pronounce that last name correctly.
Simon Sinek.
Yes,
Never heard of him.
He did a TED talk a few years ago about asking why. He did an interview on IG Live, and they brought about the concept of 8 minutes. Like whenever you're having a bad day, he says he and his friends would send messages to each other, and the only thing the message would ask is, "Do you have 8 minutes?" And do you have 8 minutes means, do you have the capacity to hold space for me for 8 minutes for me to vent or just rant about what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm going through. So if your friend responds back and says, sure, then you know you can immediately call them, and for 8 minutes, all
Just
they have to
rant.
do is listen. So I think even with our friend circles, we can create tags or even adopt that same one. And so on my bad day, I'll just send Mapalo, do you have 8 minutes? And Mapalo would know, like, Niza needs someone to talk to. So let me talk to her. So I think, yeah, if people come to you and talk to you, I hope that you can also identify who you can talk to.
No, I have a couple of friends.
That's good.
They're tired of me now.
That's good. Oh, that's so good.
They're tired of me now.
That's so
I
good.
could mention them, but I won't. I'll keep you. I'll
But
keep
I
you.
hope they know that you appreciate them.
No, they know. They know. They know. They
That's
know.
good.
They know. I'm very appreciative of my friends because, where would I be? Like honestly, where would
That's a
I
good
be? Yeah.
question. Yeah.
I'm a person who cherishes my friendships because I like to be there for people,
Yeah.
and I would like the same person to be there for me too.
Right.
So I really do appreciate my friends.
That's good.
They've helped me out through a lot. Tough times, even though the tough times lasts.
Yeah.
And the tough times are lasting. They're still there. They help out. So
That's good.
yeah.
That's really
So
good.
yeah. So I would love talking to you.
Yeah.
I would
This
love
was
talking to you.
good.
This was good.
Uh,
So I'm looking for a game right now. So this, there's this game we call blind ranking. Blind ranking. So it's you. There's going to be five things, right? Then you have to rank them from 1 to 5. But the catch is you don't know what comes next.
Okay. All right. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
get it.
But I've lost the link. I've lost the link. Anyway, just give me
I
like
think I'm being saved or something,
ah
but
no, it's
please
coming.
find
It's
it.
coming. It's almost there. It's almost there. No, but in the meantime, would you like to say something
Um,
to the people out there?
to buy you time.
Yeah, to buy me time. To buy me time.
To make me play a game. Okay, please find it. But I think to people watching, I've actually realized I haven't looked this direction from the time we started. Everybody's affected by mental health. Everybody. Why? Because we feel, we think, and we are existing in this life. So there are behaviors, there are decisions, there are actions that are done, sometimes to us, sometimes it's ourselves. And so when you realize that that is true, then you realize that you're happy could be allowed to be happy, your joy should be allowed to be your joy, but your sad also, your low also is a part of you. And you need to also be able to know that I can work through things. You can, if you're working through your excited, you can also work through your sad. And it's about creating social connections that help you achieve that. But it's also in you believing that you do deserve to commit to yourself in that manner. So don't isolate, don't be too hard on yourself on your hard days. And I mean, school is school. I've heard stories about I've heard stories. I dropped out of university twice myself because I just couldn't with the school system in Zambia. I don't know if I'll ever attempt, but for those that do, I understand your challenges. I understand how hectic it can be. That's why take care of yourselves. Look at, and I know schools have counselors. I don't know to what extent they care for people, to be honest, but take advantage of such facilities. One of the things that I've committed myself to is providing free therapy services to students. It has its own challenges in that people are not so committed to free things. So they are here and then they are not. So I'm still revising if there should be a small cost to it or if it should continue being free. But continue being free, I would like to see people getting more
Taking advantage of it.
committed. Yeah. So I think to anybody who would watch this and they still want a therapist to speak to, a professional therapist, please just tell me I watched you on this podcast and you get the free session at whatever time. Yeah, we can probably run with this until the end of 2024.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
definitely.
Thank you, thank you.
Definitely.
So I found the
You
game.
found your
Found the game. I
game.
found the game. Okay, hold
So
on.
I'm supposed to rank stuff from 1 to 5. So when you give me 1, I tell you where it stands at number 2, number 3, number 4.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Do you also edit it yourself?
Yeah. I do almost everything myself. This was the outlet. This is the new outlet actually.
What do you mean new outlet?
Oh, the not the outlet. The new
Oh,
coping.
like the new creative outlet.
The creative outlet
I
because I don't play
see.
guitar as much anymore.
Yeah.
I don't
And you're not doing
open mic right now.
open mic.
So this is the other outlet. Yeah.
No, I understand.
Okay. So there was like a small cat because Niza was trying to run away.
Ah,
All right. What category? So let me give you TV and cinema, music, or food. I'll give you that option at least.
okay, thank you for that. So, movie, cinema. Okay, I think food.
Food? Okay, okay. So, uh, fast food, foods, ice cream flavors, or snacks?
Mm, uh, so go through that again.
Fast food,
Uh-huh.
then just foods, then ice cream flavors and snacks.
Okay. Let's go with fast food. I think
Fast
that will
food.
be more
All right.
interesting.
All right. Okay. Cool. So the first.
This is gonna be fun. Would you like me to go for another one?
I think it's giving franchises. Maybe that's.
I figured that that's what it would give.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
giving. It's
figured.
giving franchises.
And if there isn't our common known things here,
Yeah.
then it's just problematic.
The first one is
Can you
something.
just? I know I may need to change the category, but what was the first one it gave?
Whataburger.
Okay, I'm familiar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, I figured it would give franchise. That's why I went for it. Okay,
Okay.
so then let's go with ice cream.
Ice cream flavors.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that would be easy.
That would be easier. Okay, so first one is pistachio.
Uh, pistachio 3.
3. Okay. Chocolate. I know it. I know what this would.
4.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Should see your face.
Thank you very much.
Should see your
It would
face.
be 5 for me actually. I would even like
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
totally get it.
mango.
Yeesh, that's heavy. 5.
Five.
Yeah.
Valid. Pretty
That would
valid.
be heavy.
Mint chocolate chip.
2.
Two? Okay. And your one is coffee.
Definitely.
Coffee ice
That's
cream.
okay. It's
Coffee
okay.
ice
I
cream.
can live with that. I can live with that. Okay. Yeah.
I
Um
like none of these. Okay, no,
um so I actually see a situation where I'm rearranging. But yeah, coffee, I love coffee and I've never tried coffee in an ice cream, but I would try it and I know I'd love it.
I'm not a hot beverage person. So coffee, tea is not my thing.
I'm
And
so
coffee in ice cream, no. I'm vanilla.
So I
Give
know
me
it would be like the smell of espresso. It would be very deep, very heavy,
very
and then
strong.
creamy. That would be fun.
No.
That would be
Feels
fun.
very strong for me. It feels very strong
Yeah,
for me.
I'm imagining where I would try that. But yeah, so coffee, mint, and chocolate,
Should we go for another one?
pistachio. I'm interested. I'm intrigued. This is fun.
Superheroes.
Let's try that.
Yeah,
Let's try
superheroes.
that.
Okay. Uh, have you watched Invincible? Invincible.
I think so.
Yeah, Omni-Man.
Oh, that's gonna be hard. I
Yeah.
think between Marvel and
Uh,
uh
Omni-Man is kind of like a DC character in a sense.
yeah, so I think I know more of Marvel than DC.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So I figured, I figured.
I was trying to indulge you and just like go superheroes, but even my favorite superhero I believe is a villain.
Who-
I really love Thanos and I love M'Baku. These are my two favorites. That gives you an idea of how awkward this can
The funny
get.
thing is, Omni-Man is actually kind of like a hero who is a villain naturally. So the story is he comes to the world which is America. Yeah, the world which is America, and he has a kid, but his mandate is to take over the world.
Right.
So he comes in and he's a hero
Oh,
first.
wow.
So when his son becomes of age and gets his superpowers, they're supposed to conquer the world together. But his son isn't about that jazz. He's like, no, I am going to save the planet. So Omniman starts killing everyone.
Oh, wow. Shame.
Yeah, yeah,
Shame.
yeah. So he's a villain.
Shame. I hate how predictable the superhero movies are.
They really are. They really
Yeah.
are. They really are. But the fun thing about this one is like it was episode one, like where it just started with him killing
Right.
people. I
Right.
didn't expect it. I didn't expect it. I thought he was going to
Right.
be the good guy, but he just killed every other superhero.
Shame.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Shame.
So where would we rank that? Where would we rank him?
Uh, 5.
Five. Okay.
Yeah. Very little.
Thor,
Joe. Okay.
the god of thunder.
So Thor, let's put him at number 3.
Three. Okay. Thor goes at three. Doctor Strange,
4.
witchcraft.
4.
Deadpool.
I don't even know who that is.
You don't know Deadpool?
No.
Anti-hero, more of an assassin than a hero,
So I only
really.
know Thor so far and Doctor Strange.
uh,
Um. Okay, 2.
two, okay, two, and Wolverine goes one.
Yeah.
That's a valid. I think
That's okay. I know him.
that's a valid
I know
ranking.
2.
That's a valid
That's
ranking.
okay.
But
Okay.
anyway, we've come
That's
to the
fun.
end of the episode. We've come to the end of the season actually. So yeah,
Love that for you. Well
yeah.
done.
So we have shot 20. No, we've shot 24 episodes.
And that's for your season.
Yeah, no, we've released 21. 20, yeah, we released 21 because the first three we shot, my PC crashed and everything
Oh,
went.
yeah.
That was a sad hard time. Yeah, but yeah,
But do you
this
have access to the guests you had then? Can you still bring them? Have you re-recorded?
it was the first three episodes was just the first core three of us,
Okay,
like
okay,
just the
cool,
team itself. So
cool.
lucky enough, it wasn't really it was just a let's get this started.
Oh,
Let's get
let's
this
have a feel.
let's have a feel of it.
One day it crashed.
No, I didn't crash. It was like
Yeah,
training wheels.
Charles, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would like to thank everyone that's been with us from the get go, from episode 1 to episode 21. This is episode 21. From episode 1 to episode 21. Then there's this girl, Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
She, because I never really think anyone's listening.
You'd be shocked.
Yeah, I would be shocked.
You'd be
I was
shocked.
actually shocked. I sent out the links because I put it on a broadcast. I sent out the links and
Mm-hmm.
she was like, I I look forward to this every Monday, and it made me feel so warm inside.
Right.
Like
Right.
it really made me feel really good. Like wow, I
Yeah.
I guess we're doing something,
Yeah.
and we're not just doing it for fun. Like
Mm-hmm.
someone out there is actually listening.
Listening.
So, Rachel, big shout out to you. So far, you're the biggest fan.
Oh.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Rachel. Also, a friend of mine's birthday was last week. He was like, no, I should say my name on the
I
podcast. So,
see.
yeah,
What's your friend's name?
Wupe.
Oh,
Wupe.
okay.
His name is Wupe.
Belated happy birthday,
Belated happy
Whoopi.
birthday, Wupe. And
Yeah.
one of the founders, actually, his birthday was yesterday,
Mm.
Francis Daka.
Okay.
I think you've seen him. You met him.
Francis Daka. I
Francis
don't know.
plays bass.
I don't
Okay.
know.
Actually,
I do.
took you home once.
Francis took me home once.
Yeah,
Why are you saying that when
Yango.
I can't?
Oh no, oh, that was Lindo. He was driving with Lindo.
Okay, I think I know Francis. I
Yeah,
know Francis. I think I remember the car.
yeah, it's like a
Yes.
black
Okay.
car.
Oh
Right?
yeah, Francis Daka. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
One of the founders. His birthday was yesterday. Happy belated birthday, bro.
Belated happy birthday.
I love you, bro. Even though you're whack, you suck.
Yeah. I don't know who taught me this, but the difference between happy belated birthday and belated happy birthday.
It's a
So I
thing.
can't even explain it, but I know that it's a thing.
It's a
I
thing.
can't explain it. I don't know
I,
what the science is, but I know
I've,
there's
I've,
something.
belated
If
or
somebody knows, please tell us. But
birthday after. Yeah, bro.
yeah,
Happy birthday to you, Francis Daka. And yeah, I guess this is the end.
well done.
We're done. We're
Well
done.
done for this.
Thank you.
On behalf of all the guests who've ever come through, thank you so much for doing this and for having us.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
and more grace.
Thank you for giving us your time.
Sure.
Thank you for coming through. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
It's been fun. It's been fun. It's been a long 20 weeks of recording and trying to meet deadlines and trying to get this working. But it's been fun and it's been great. And I've loved every moment of it. I'm
Yeah.
sure Toast and Witty could say the same thing. They're not here right now. They're busy. They're working. And me, this is work.
Yeah, yeah.
This is work for
So
me.
should people expect that you will continue doing this?
We will continue doing this.
great.
We will continue. We're only going on a break for a month.
Okay.
So we're going on a break for a month, sorting out logistics and plans for season 2.
Right.
And all I can say is season 2 is going to be bigger and better. And we are hoping to keep you here. Hoping to have you again.
It'll be great. I
hoping
love how Kama was here. Like I loved the flow, loved everything. So
Hoping to have you again, hoping
For
to have more
sure.
guests, hoping to make this the biggest podcast on the Copper Belt.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Yeah, hoping
I
to have
really
this
do.
the biggest podcast on the. We are putting it into the universe from my mouth to God's ears. We are hoping this will be the biggest podcast on the Copper Belt. Then we can penetrate the scene in Zambia because Quito doesn't really have a podcast scene like that. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
I think
and-
they're like, oh, this one has a podcast, this one has an
Yeah.
audio podcast. So this is like maybe the third video podcast I've seen. One since been discontinued. So there's like 2 only video and audio podcasts.
So
I
and we
know.
want to be as big as possible.
Please.
Yeah. So thank you to Mr. Musa Mate from Etc. Studios, Etc. Science and Technologies, my boss here. He said he'll come on for an episode when we reach 100 subscribers. We're past that.
Wow.
We're past that, but he still hasn't come on. So he owes me an episode. He owes me an episode. Big shout out to who else am I leaving out?
I don't know.
I don't know.
really know.
I'm sorry if I'm leaving out anyone, but thank you to everyone who's been here. The guests, Jimmy, Jimmy. Yeah, so many people. I've had so many people, but my mind is gone. But thank you guys. I really appreciate you guys. Hope you come again. We're hoping to be as big as we can be. Hoping to have more guests, more point of views, more discussions, more topics, and more of everything. Honestly, And thank you. I've said enough thank yous, so many thank yous. And bye now. Bye. All right. Thank you.
Thank you as well.